And welcome to 𝙬𝙒 Survivor. Today I want to look at some hydration bladders, your hydros. Come in different sizes from 1 litre, 3 litres, and I'm sure even bigger. But I've always had a problem with them. The problem I have is they're difficult to carry, and if you have a sleeve inside your pack and you put a hydration bladder in one of these sleeves, invariably it eats up a lot of room in your pack. You've still got the weight in your pack, and there is a way of carrying bladders if you have the right pack that makes it feel a lot better. Now, I've always shied away from bladders, and I've always had bottles, and probably always will. But on a lightweight trekking pack, I'll show you mine now, it doesn't really have the pockets to carry water bottles. And of course I could adapt the bottles here, which is on my shoulder harness. Could put a little carabiner on there, have a bottle either side. Or I could go down the road of having water bottles and attach them to the hip belt here. And in the comments you'll also hear people stowing their bladders a different way. Sometimes I use a chest rig, and some people in the comments will run the system totally different. But the key thing I wanted to investigate are why are there some people who absolutely love bladders and some people that shy away from them. So I jumped in the comment section, and there seems to be quite a split between people who like them, people who don't like them, and even the same bladder. So I did some research, and it looks like it's the shape of the bladder can vastly improve the carriage, you know, how it feels on your back. Is it wobbling about your pack? Is it dragging down on your shoulders? Now, I have 2 bladders with me that are from Source and 1 from Camelback. There's a massive debate on forums regarding the Source bladders, and most will say they're uncomfortable, very uncomfortable, and some will say I enjoy them. And after a little research I realised they're talking about 2 totally different types of bladder. Now, one is the low profile, which I'm going to show you here, and it's the one I use. This is my personal off-camera pack that I use for hammocking, and as you can see it's 25 litres, and have my water, my stove, my insulation, everything I need and more. And I couldn't really get a bladder to fit until I put the low profile bladder on. Now, I do have the long bladder from Source, and that is terrible in any pack. Any pack I put it in, it is terrible. You bear the weight. You can feel every single ounce of water, or milliliter, depending what country you're in. This one here is the Source, and it is the low profile, 3 litres, albeit I've only got 2 in it, which is ample for me. The drinks hose connected to my right arm, so I can have access to it. Being left-handed, I grab across my chest, so you always put the tube the opposite way around, so you grab with your dominant hand and cross your chest. And the low profile Source in my 25 litre gullet, all my kit in, is fantastic. But I have bought the Camelback and another Source in this pack here. Uncomfortable. It's all down to the shape. This is a little mule pack. Included in the pack here is another type. Now, this zips onto the side of one of my Bergens. It's a sleeve with a hydration bladder in. There's the bladder hose. This is how it's accessed, and this is the CamelBak. Now often I think it's the shape itself of a bladder which makes it either very comfortable or not very comfortable at all. Straight away you notice just how long it is and how narrow it is. The opening on it here is on the front, and it's not a great way of refilling your water. There is no other alternative to this on this particular CamelBak here. You have to refill and empty through there, unless you have a backline filter, which we'll come to on a different video, and you can pump water directly into your bag via the tube. But like I said, that's a different video. Let's get the sauce out. Sauce, make this 3 litres. Look how fat that is. This holds 3 litres, this holds 2 litres. Rather than putting the water in and out through a little applicator like that, and you notice the way I put the water in and empty it out is on the top. So pull back like that. Now this means I can fill this and empty it without it coming out of my pack. So I do like the fact it can be loaded and unloaded on a slide like that, rather than a screw cap on the front. It doesn't sit well at all. I don't like either of these. The thing making it difficult to carry is the shape, not just because it's a bladder. This bladder here is also by Source, but the shape of it is radically different. It's short, it's stubby, it's very wide, it's not very long, and it has a split reservoir which is joined by a partition in the middle. Now that stops the water from sloshing outwards, so it keeps its form. And this is a radically different kind of bladder system that I'm used to, or have used in the past, but now I use all the time, remembering the fact that I'm not keen on bladders at all. Now this sits in an exo frame, this bladder. It has a rigid spar behind my back, and it's between my fingers there, and it has a breathable air mesh. So that is a semi-exo frame pack. Is get your bladder behind this mesh exo frame rather than trying to load it into the pouch they give you. Anyway, we've got the 3.0 long, 2.0 CamelBak and 3.0 Source. Both the green on the edges are Source. So let's move the CamelBak and bring in the Source. The whole shape is different. It's wide, it's not very tall, and it has a divided partition right down the centre there, and that partition is between the back and the front, which stops this being a fat boy when you fill it. It still remains pretty low profile and slim. Now I've put a piece of tape on mine there denoting where the 2 litre mark is. Had I filled it to the top where my hand is, that's 3 litres, but 2 litres is plenty for me there. And for some reason this 3.0 long narrow does not carry well at all. This one here, my favourite, you can see the quick connect comes from the very bottom, but they all have a quick connect, not so much at the bottom there on the long but further up here, so I can take this off. Or you could put a midline filter between these two parts here, and this is the whole crux of the video, is the shape of these. The long narrow just doesn't work, and I don't care whether it's 𝙗𝙗𝙒 𝙋𝙖 or whoever you get it from. The magic is in the shape of this very wide, short, narrow kind of bladder, which then fits an 𝙂 frame. Now I could put this internally, but I'm not going to. I'm going to remount this. I'll just make sure this piece here is away from my back, slide it into the 𝙂 mesh. That is as quick as that needs to be. That hardly took any time at all. Now I'm left-handed, so I need this on the right, so this will be the right as I walk, and you can adapt however you want from there on in. On the gullet, it just happens to have a little bit of sewn elastic to accept my hydro there, so I can reach across my chest with my dominant hand to access the water. You saw how easy it was for me to get access to the actual bladder there, so I didn't have to go into the pack to get water to refill, and that is really comfy there. Okay, that's one system done. Because something has the capability to carry a water bladder, it doesn't always follow, therefore you should, or even have to. This, which I've shown you that you zip onto the side of your Bergen, originally was for that long source. The 3 litre, it's narrow, it's very, very wide when it's full, because it hasn't got that centre partition bringing the front onto the back to stop it flopping. When bladders are like that, when they're awkward and there's no thought to actually the manufacture or ergonomics, then it can be a really bad idea. It just so happens that the source 3.0 with the centre partition, the low profile, is well designed, so well designed. I've now returned to using bladders, but not just any old bladder. It is the source low profile. So the proof of the pudding there is it is the shape of the bladder that dictates whether something is comfortable to carry. I wouldn't even put that on eBay for anyone else to buy. It would just be a waste of their time. For now, I can empty the water of that to carry that home, dump this water out so I don't have to carry it home. You could still buy source, but look at the low profile. And if the 3 litre low profile is a little bit of extra money, I don't know if it is or not, I would certainly consider paying the extra, because the benefits outweigh the cost all day. As you can see, that is my lightweight hiking pack that I've put that low profile on, and it works amazingly well. The 𝙗𝙗𝙒 is, you know, a good close contender, but the design isn't there. The design isn't there at all. It's still long and narrow. To empty this, I need to open it, and it is quite a bugger to fill. I'd rather have the capability of not removing the bladder at all. Let me empty this out. I'd rather have the capability of refilling direct from the line and pumping water into these bladders, rather than trying to remove the bladder from its housing, removing it from the pack, having to open applications like that, either a screw top or the slide. So I do pump the water through the nozzle, and the pump connects to a filter. And I don't know if that would be something you'd be interested in seeing as a video, because usually if it's not a soya water filter, people aren't interested. And boy, I've had soya water filters, and again, they're just overrated. It says it'll do 1 million litres, it'll be lucky if it does 300. So you're going to get what you pay for. If you think it's going to do 1 million litres, then you need to have a word with yourself, don't you? It's buyer beware. I mean, I'm going to say to you, they saw you coming. And I know there's a lot of soya fanboys and girls on the channel, so I've upset quite a lot of people just saying that. A professional filter is a lot bigger than your source filters, and this little MAD system, MAD, filters virus as well as bacteria, which I think is necessary, because there's been reports that sewage plant works are pumping overspill from a sewer plant into rivers, and there are viruses in human excrement. There just is. Now, these small backpacking soyas only filter out the large particulates and bacterias and not viruses, and they will, to a degree, protect against some pesticides and heavy metals, which is why I went for the military MAD system, the MAD system. And it contains a filter which can be used inline or to pump clean water back into the reservoir via the drinking tube. So there's a pump in here as well. The pump isn't required, probably, unless you want to pump through the mouth tube into the bladder, so you don't have to remove the bladder, or you are an excursion leader and you have multiple water containers to fill for your group. And we'll come to this on a different episode, because I know there's a lot of fanboys out there of soya and they won't hear anything bad said against them. It is, to all intents and purposes, just a micro filter, and there are other ones by, let me see what they call, Katadyn and Survivor 1, but the actual mechanisms on the inside is exactly the same. It's identical. It's hollow fill fibres. Now, regarding some of these filters, they're all much of a muchness no matter who you buy them from. They are just hollow fill strands which gets pushed through a resin disc, and Soya make them, Survivor 1 make them, Katadyn make them. They're all the same. The mechanics is the same. It's hollow fill fibre, and that catches the large particulates, and you're forcing it through a resin disc. Now, all them I've just mentioned use that same technology, and there's massive arguments online which is best. I wouldn't have any of them. I would have something which has a charcoal, activated charcoal. I would have something which is ceramic. A ceramic plate would be good, but they're massively expensive compared to these 20-30 quid filters, and some are cheeky enough to ask for 100 UK pounds. That's too much for a micro filter like that. It's just too much. You should expect to pay no more than 20-30 quid for something like that. If you are looking at 100 quid for a filter, you could get activated charcoal and ceramic plating for that. Anyway, back to the actual bladders, which is what we're talking about. I really recommend changing the shape of your bladder. This one here, which I'm recommending, is by Source. It is the 3 litre low profile. It's shorter, it's wider, it has a central partition keeping the front connected to the back so it doesn't become too wide. A very simple drinks hose, and you can connect on whatever mouthpiece you want. It does fit into all the sleeves, but I recommend actually putting it into an EXO frame. Now once this is on my back, this is my actual lightweight pack. This is the one I use off camera, and there are a lot of people who automatically think if I've shown a video of something that is what I am going to carry out with me. It's not. Not everything I show you on 𝙤𝙒 is my personal kit. It wouldn't be my personal choice, but I can evaluate products. But this is my personal pack. It only needs 25 litres. In it I've got a hammock, the insulation for the hammock, the shelter for the hammock, the water, the cook set, the food, the clothing. In the sides here I even have sundries and accessories. So 25 litres is all you need. But this is my summer pack. In the back here I've got that 3 litre source, low profile, and it's sat not in the pack in the sleeve, but actually in the EXO frame itself. And a great little tip is, if it's a nice hot day, you know you'd be walking about a lot, is actually put the bladder itself into the freezer for a couple of hours. Not only have you got a nice cold water drink, but it's nice on your back, it cools you down as you're walking. So that's a great tip. Get these things in the freezer for a couple of hours before you start walking. And that's me done for this video. So really do consider the shape of what bladder system you're using. Take heed of what's being said here, because I have always shied away from bladders and gone for bottles, be it Nalgene or Army Pattern bottles. But now I'm back on bladders, provided the shape is what I want it to be, not what some other company want to tell me what shape to go for. Long, narrow doesn't work. Stubby, short, thin does, especially if it has a centre partition to stop it splaying fat. It keeps it all in line like that. And if I can, I'll put them in my 𝙤𝙒 Amazon shop if I can get hold of them. If they're not there, I can't. And you can go to Source itself and buy the low profile. It's well worth it. I think you can get it well under 30 quid. It's going to be an investment, but it's going to be an investment you won't go back on. So until next time, take care of yourself, and I'll see you out there. Happy trails.